Good morning, goddammit. Pea and Vinegar Day 183, so it's leg day. And yeah, got this hack squat machine. I'm getting more and more into training at the moment. I'm getting more enthusiastic about the whole process. For the first 2 weeks after my injury, I was eating like shit and I was just kind of down and out. And I was still training a week afterwards, but I just really wasn't very optimistic. But now I'm kind of really getting into the swing of things. I've still got a long ways to go before I can really get way back into training again. Because obviously this bicep tear's got at least another 6 weeks before I can really start lifting anything remotely heavy. Probably longer than that even. So, but in the meantime, I can do what I can do. I'm doing isometrics and shit for my left arm. I'm doing like tricep isometrics. I'm doing grippers, doing isometrics for my front and rear delt, and doing isometrics for everything but my bicep. Well, I am doing isometrics for my left bicep even, but only very light. I don't want to risk tearing the bicep. So anyway, leg day, hack squats. This shit has been a lifesaver. This is I'm already getting leg gains from using this thing. I've only used it once now, I think, but just simply using it that one, I feel like I've got some leg gains because I'm actually able to train my legs properly. Machines rule, barbells drool. I mean, at the end of the day, the hack squat is simply the number one best variation for the quads, or just the best squat variation you can do. People will always say, "Oh yeah, no, you got to do the barbell squat, bro." Well, let's think about this logically. First of all, can you take a barbell squat to failure? I mean, theoretically, yes, but there's so many problems with that. One, the lower back and the core is oftentimes going to give out before your legs do. Most people, unless you're like 5'5" or a Tom Platz, you're probably not going to be able to take a barbell squat to failure just simply because your core will give out. Then you have a safety concern because there's far less stability. There's the fact that your core will give out and then you start rounding the lower back. And then safety from the perspective of what do you do at the bottom of the squat when you fail with a barbell on your back? Let's say you can squat 160 kilos or something and you got a fuck ton of weight on your back and now you failed with that bar on your bottom. What are you going to do? Like put it on the safety pins? Maybe. But it's just not worth the risk. And then the knees and back and everything is at far higher risk due to the technical aspect. You have a bunch of technique involved. For me, squats don't hit my quads, they hit my lower back and core. Whereas the hack squat, even if you are a 5'5" guy who can take squats to failure relatively safely, you're always going to be better off with a hack squat because you can just simply take it to failure way, way safer. You're not going to get crushed by a hack squat machine because it has safety pins in place. There's no stability required, so your core and back are totally out of the equation. You can move your feet around and put them into different positions that you wouldn't be able to do on a squat, and you're able to put leverages into place that you wouldn't be able to do on a squat because you'd fall over, that allow you to contract your quads so much better. There's so many reasons why the hack squat is superior, but ultimately it's your ability to take it to mechanical failure safely and just generally properly. You can't take a barbell squat to failure safely or properly. Your legs just won't fail first. Your core likely will, and if it doesn't, it's still so unsafe for many people. Now the hack squat, yeah, that's not a problem. Your core is not requiring stabilization. You can just totally activate the quadriceps. Move your feet around. As you can see, I got wooden planks here and a bunch of dumbbells and shit, so I can get my feet higher up and I can get them further ahead, and then I can go up on my heels and really go knees over toes and hit failure and really grind it out. And my legs, man, like at the end of this set, I do one set to failure to start with, then I do a second set to failure, and on the second set, I do a drop set. I do, fucking two plates, then one plate, then no plates, and by the end of it, I can't walk. And on top of that, I wouldn't be able to do that from a cardiovascular perspective with a barbell. It's so much more of a demand on your lung capacity, your heart capacity when you use a barbell because there's so many more muscles at work, which will, the argument would be, oh, well, the barbell squat produces more human growth hormone because it's so much more systemic damage. And it's like, dude, the studies that show that human growth hormone is such a nominal amount of growth factor, it's not going to do that much. And ultimately, this is using plenty of muscles. And the muscles that you are using are the ones that are actually producing the growth hormone. Stabilizing through the core and thoracic spine and spinal erectors, those are small muscles. Those are not muscles that are going to be producing the fucking growth factors that you're talking about here. What are going to be producing it is the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the glutes, the calves, these big, powerful muscles. And not only are those the ones that are going to produce it, you're training those ones harder on hack squat. So it only stands to reason that hack squat would actually produce more of this testosterone and human growth hormone, which I don't buy anyway. I think it's so nominal. But I lost my point here. Yes, the cardiovascular component. You will not be able to take, a fucking 160 kilo squat to failure, then drop set it, safely. Because if you fail properly, the barbell's at the bottom. Then you have to take the weights off, put it back up on a rack. Then you take, say, 60 kilos off. By then, it's been 2 minutes trying to do a drop set. With the hack squat, I fail, go to the bottom, grab another plate off, take it off. I've been able to do 3 drop sets in a row without back-to-back with fuck all rest. The only limitation was my legs were so fucking cooked, I could barely walk to the fucking side of the machine to take the plates off. But by the end, you'll see, I literally can't walk. And I've never been able to take a barbell squat to this capacity. So at the end of the day, the hack squat has so many benefits over the barbell squat. Barbell squat, if you're into powerlifting, obviously that's your sport. So thus do the barbell squat. But even then, as an accessory, the hack squat will be excellent because it'll allow you to actually take your muscles to failure and you'll get more hypertrophy out of it. And what we do know is that a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. So it's a great accessory to the barbell squat. I mean, I'm not hating on the barbell squat by any means. If you want to do barbell squats because you find them impressive, which I do personally find them impressive, then do them. But then follow it up. I mean, look at me, fucking trying to, I can't fucking walk. Follow it up with a hack squat to actually be able to, take the quads to proper failure. So anyway, moving on. There's so much more I can talk about the hack squat and machines in general being better than barbells for this very reason. But the hack squat is the epitome of that being the case. I personally, for example, I don't see the difference between a incline dumbbell press and a machine incline press. Like that's just a matter of preference because there's no real difference. But with a hack squat, there is a huge difference. Anytime the core is going to be the limiting factor, you want to be using a machine. Anyway, now I'm doing a Nordic curl, and I've got a band around my neck because at the top, your resistance curve is poor, right? There's no resistance here. But if I put a band on my neck, and it's lax at the bottom because most of the resistance is at the bottom, as you can see. And then as I go to the top, it gets harder and harder. And then by the time I get to the top, the resistance is too much. It's a consistent resistance curve. Rather than getting heaps of resistance to the bottom and nothing at the top, you got a band to this body weight movement, and you're able to actually get pure resistance all the way through. And then what happens is I am basically failing and I can resist with my arm. So you'll see here at the bottom, I can't lift myself up at all. So I start using my arm resistance to slowly lift myself up. And then by the time I get up to the resistance curve at the top where it is easier, it's still hard because I'm so exhausted. So up here is no assistance, but it's still very difficult. So with this, you can manually resist yourself on the Nordic curl, and you can get a really good full resistance curve. That's part of the problem with the movement I was doing previously, which is the cable laying hamstring curl, but without the machine, where the machine has sort of a moon-shaped thing that the cable runs through as a contour, allows for the resistance curve to be relatively consistent throughout. It's obviously always going to be harder at the top with that movement, but at the bottom you still have a decent amount of resistance on the cable machine, whereas with the cables, when you just strap it around your ankles, the resistance is almost zero at the bottom. So the difference here is on this movement, at least I can get a full resistance curve by sort of doing like pre-exhausting techniques and doing assisted reps, because at the bottom I kind of simply could not lift myself. So this really smashed my hamstrings, and I'm actually starting to like the Nordic curl for this reason, because I can do manual resistance. Now, obviously, standardization's tough here because I can't monitor how much I'm doing manual resistance over time, and that's a big thing at the moment where I really like manual resistance. It's incredible. It's fucking awesome for being able to basically do a 1 rep max every single rep. You recruit every motor neuron. I mean, the first 3 reps I wasn't maxing out. But the last 10 reps that I did on the Nordic curl, because of the manual resistance, I could basically do a 1 rep max every single rep. And that way you don't have to do 8 redundant reps to get to the last 2 or 3 that really count, because those are the ones where all the motor neurons are being recruited. But then the problem is standardization. How do you know you're progressively overloading? You don't really. So I don't know. I guess I'll be doing both from now on. But this has been a big learning curve where from now on, I want to try and do an exercise for a movement where I can standardize it, I can progressively overload to make sure I'm getting stronger, and then follow it up by manual resistance exercise, because I feel like there's just probably a shit ton of gains to be had from that. And then I did a second set just because why not? Because I'm only doing one exercise per body part. I did the hack squat for quads, so I did 2 sets for that, and then 2 sets of hamstrings on these because of my injury. I can't do a bunch of different variations to hit different muscle groups. So I just decided to do 2 sets. It's incredible what lighting will do. Here I hit the holy grail of lighting, which makes my calves and quads and hamstrings and glutes look a hell of a lot bigger than they really are. I really need to get the lighting in my gym sorted out so I can start fucking jester maxing you people, not so you don't actually know how small I really am. But yeah, anyway, that's it for today. Just basically 2 sets for quads and hamstrings, and I can barely fucking walk. Hack squats, the best exercise for quads, especially in a high intensity context when you're taken to failure. Highly suggest getting a hack squat machine if you don't have one, or if you have a gym membership, fuck the barbell squat off and start using hack squat. You won't regret it. You'll get way more quad gains, and you can really experiment with foot grips and shit to see what allows you to feel your quads far more. Anyway, see you guys for more Piss and Vinegar. Bye bye.